Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
Experienced drivers say that a novice driver is always visible to the naked eye. But it is normal when a person just gets behind the wheel, tries to be extremely careful, or is unsure of his behavior. Everyone has started with it at some point. Experience is important here, the ability to learn from other people's and your own mistakes, to correct inaccuracies in driving and behavior in the car. Highlight several major mistakes of novice drivers, which are definitely worth paying attention to. This will allow you to understand what a person does wrong behind the wheel and how to correct the situation for the better. Take into account one simple truth. It is impossible in a few days to become a master driver who never makes mistakes, drives perfectly correctly, and exemplary. Even people with a lot of experience in driving still periodically repeat the same mistakes as beginners. It is always necessary to keep learning, improving, and repeating traffic rules. The problem of pinning to the curb. It so happens that novice drivers are very afraid of the vehicles around them. Because of this, they sometimes unconsciously try to press closer to the curb. And often such behavior is caused by the low level of professionalism of the instructor who taught the person in the driving school. It is the attitude towards teaching in driving schools that often leads to typical mistakes made by novice drivers. A novice driver feels safe by pulling over to the curb. But this is an erroneous feeling, because in reality it is not recommended to move too close to the edge. Such behavior increases the likelihood of driving onto sidewalks, hitting pedestrians, and causing a puncture. All sorts of debris often accumulate on the curb, among which can be found pieces of glass, plastic, some nails, and other sharp objects. All this will result in a minimum need to change the tire. Learn to move strictly in the lane, without squeezing in anywhere. This will give room for maneuvers to other road users, and also will not allow you to infringe on your space when moving. Ignoring signs. Another common phenomenon is the situation when the driver is entirely focused on driving. No one says that the beginner should look around, consider the beauty of the surrounding world, or read information from billboards. But full concentration on the road leads to the fact that the novice motorist misses important road signs. As a result, it turns into a speeding ticket, a ticket for driving under a brick, or a ticket for parking in an inappropriate place. The driver is obliged to pay attention to the traffic situation and the signs at the same time. They are specially made large and bright enough to allow you to pay attention to them in time. It is necessary to teach yourself to look not at one point, but to distribute yourself over a wider area. This allows you to cover the road itself, as well as everything that is located along the roadsides. Loud music. Common mistakes of novice drivers include the problem of loud music. No one forbids the driver to listen to his favorite compositions or turn on the radio while driving. Not for nothing. After all car manufacturers, even in the basic equipment, install the corresponding audio systems. But beginners are better for some time to give up such a pleasure and pay more attention to the management of the vehicle. You should turn on the music when you are on the highway with a minimum number of cars around you. In the city, it is better to turn on the radio or music at a minimum volume. This is not only because music is distracting, sometimes it makes you sing along and dance while driving. This is not the biggest problem. The biggest threat is the fact that because of the music, the driver cannot hear what is happening around him, ignores the signals of other drivers. This is a direct threat to accidents and crashes. If you turn on the audio system, then only at a volume that will not drown out signals and sounds outside. This will allow you to slow down in time or make the right maneuver. And not only beginners sin by this. Many drivers who have been behind the wheel for more than a year often turn on the music at maximum speed, thereby endangering themselves and other road users. There are already a number of initiatives that provide for the introduction of large fines for too loud music in the car. And for many objective reasons, this will be the right decision. Non-compliance with speed limits. Rather interestingly, the mistake of newcomers behind the wheel related to the speed of traffic. After all, here you can distinguish at once two absolutely opposite problems. Too little speed. It is more common when a beginner is afraid to press the gas pedal and tries to drive at minimum speeds. All is well when he strictly observes the speed limits on a stretch of road. But it is quite different if he moves too slowly where it is not forbidden to add gas. Such behavior can lead to congestion and traffic jams, sometimes even in areas where they never exist. Excessive slowness is also dangerous. At least foul language to the driver, to which not everyone knows how to respond adequately. Too high speed. There is also an opposite situation when a person, having just received the rights, immediately tries to squeeze the maximum out of his car. And this is a huge mistake, because the management at high speeds provides for the mandatory presence of relevant experience, knowledge, of the capabilities and features of the car. The consequences of speeding are very different, ranging from uncontrollable skidding and trips to the oncoming lane, ending with flying off the road and serious traffic accidents. Read also, features of removing stickers and traces of glue from the body and glass of the car with their own hands, as you can clearly see. Both situations reflect equally badly on novice drivers. Yes, excessive caution and low speed is a safer option, but it does no good either. You need to learn to move with the flow, not slow it down, and not create dangerous situations by speeding up or slowing down. Ignoring mirrors. Many mistakes of drivers, which led to accidents and various accidents on the road, are often associated with the use of rearview mirrors. More specifically, with an ignoring or misapplying them. When a driver is driving on the road in the city or on the highway, he is obliged to periodically look in the rear and side mirrors, even in situations when he is not going to make maneuvers or overtake. This rule is taught in driving schools, but for some reason many motorists forget about it. This turns out to be extremely unpleasant situations. If you do not look in the mirrors, you can provoke a serious accident, because the beginner simply does not see what is happening behind him, trying to overtake or rearrange. But without looking back, the car behind can easily be hit by another car at high speed. Look in your mirrors whenever there is a potential danger of colliding with someone. This applies not only to cars and public roads, but also to parking lots, and exits from residential yards. It is instinctive to look in the mirrors. At first it may seem difficult, because when looking in the mirror you have to distract yourself from the situation on the road. But everything comes with experience. It is only important to remember that ignoring rearview mirrors is extremely dangerous for all road users. Distance. To the list of common mistakes of novice drivers can also include situations when beginners keep very close behind the vehicles ahead. Not always the driver, only having found himself behind the wheel after receiving a license, can accurately calculate the distance to the car in front of him. And when there is a need to brake in an emergency, the distance is not enough to activate the braking system, resulting in an accident. It is the driver's responsibility to maintain an optimal distance. And this applies not only to those cars that are in front of you, but also on the side of you. According to experts, the distance should be kept in such a way that you can reach the car in 2 seconds. But not always this rule can be observed, because the dense urban flow does not give so much space. And the speed of cars is different. You need to be a little selfish and keep the distance that you think is safe and correct, even if the cars behind you, or rather their drivers, are against it. The problem of working with the clutch. If we talk about the most common mistakes of novice drivers, then you cannot get around the issue of the clutch pedal. An experienced chauffeur easily controls the car by moving his feet in parallel on 3 different pedals. Beginners cannot move their feet so quickly. It takes time and experience. The clutch is the most problematic pedal in cars with manual transmission. After all, shifting into each gear requires first depressing the clutch and then releasing it and pressing the accelerator pedal. This technique is taught in all driving schools, and most of them successfully cope with the task. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten their license. But it is one thing when you work with the clutch pedal on a special platform or under the supervision of an instructor, and quite another when you find yourself on the road. Repeatedly, you can see the car start and then immediately stop. It starts again, sort of squeezes the throttle, jerks, and stops again. A series of failed attempts makes the novice even more nervous. No wonder, because he is being pushed from behind by other drivers, and definitely not expressing words of encouragement. Learning to work quickly with the clutch pedal is possible. To do this, it is necessary to practice. But there is another solution to the problem, which is currently gaining popularity. It is about buying a car with an automatic transmission. Here there is no clutch pedal, and therefore the problem disappears by itself. Sharp braking. The problem of insufficient experience and poor study of the capabilities of your own car. A novice driver does not yet feel his car, and therefore cannot correctly distribute braking and acceleration. It seems to a beginner that there is a lot of free space ahead. The traffic light is green, and it is possible to accelerate. But suddenly the traffic light starts flashing, and the speed is already decent. Nothing else remains but to sharply hit the brake pedal. Read also, is it possible to cheat the Alcazamach? There are special theoretical and practical classes that deal with the issue of gradual braking. The instructors tell you that you should brake in advance, anticipating changes in the traffic situation. It is too dangerous to try to stop the car at the last moment, especially when the road is wet, covered with snow, or icy. This significantly increases the braking distance. The brake pedal is of paramount importance when it comes to traffic safety. Therefore, learn to brake smoothly, start stopping in advance, slightly slowing down, so that you can approach an intersection or the entrance to a corner at a minimum speed. Abrupt braking is not only harmful to the braking system and suspension of the car. By stopping in front of the cars behind you in this way, drivers will simply not have time to react to your decision. As a result, the newcomer is hit from behind. And it is the one who braked sharply who is to blame. The driver behind you just didn't have a chance. Although there is a question about the distance. Weather conditions. Extremely common mistakes of novice drivers are related to the fact that they forget about the difference in the state of the roadway, depending on the weather. Because of such mistakes by motorists, other road users can suffer as well. It is important to understand and remember that dry and wet asphalt is perceived differently by cars, grip changes, and the braking system works differently. The driver must adapt to the current weather conditions by choosing a driving style. Weather affects a number of factors, namely, acceleration, braking, clutch operation, braking distance, slippage, distance, headlight use. When the car is traveling on dry asphalt, the braking distance is one distance. But if the road gets wet, this distance increases by 1.5 times. On winter and icy roads, the braking distance can increase several times. And if the driver does not take this into account, there is a high probability of an accident and getting into a traffic accident. Weather conditions dictate how a driver should behave behind the wheel. The manner of driving depends largely on the condition of the road surface, the presence of precipitation, the temperature of the surrounding air. Therefore, in summer and spring motorists stick to one style, while in winter and fall they noticeably change their driving style. Damp, ice and puddles are inherently dangerous, as they can cause aquaplaning, skidding, loss of control, and so on. If you even catch one wheel on an icy patch, you can lose control of the vehicle. Moving on such roads requires extreme concentration and competent actions from the driver. Beginners forget about it, or simply have never personally felt the difference between the behavior of the car on summer and winter roads. That is why there are a lot of accidents for sometimes very trivial reasons. Lack of sense of speed and distance. It is difficult to learn this for a few practical lessons in driving schools. It takes time, experience, and gradual improvement of the feeling of your own car. It is not for nothing that experienced drivers say that it is important to feel your car, to feel its dimensions, to understand the peculiarities of the car's reaction to the brake and gas pedals. Gradually, a beginner adapts to the vehicle, understanding how the car will behave in this or that situation. A beginner has to be patient, careful, and attentive in order to get a feel for the car. Here it is very important to understand when to brake, pick up speed, and keep the distance. Sometimes the driver does not feel that the car is moving too fast, and in an emergency situation, it simply will not have time to brake in time because the distance to the car ahead is too small. Appearing behind the wheel of a vehicle, every novice driver must understand that he becomes a full-fledged participant of road traffic. And this means that the driver not only gets the right to move on public roads, but also bears a certain responsibility, puts on his shoulders responsibilities that must be strictly observed and fulfilled. It is irresponsibility that can be considered the main mistake, or rather a problem of many drivers. Having received a license, they become overconfident, thinking that they know and can do everything. But when they encounter real life, they get disappointed and realize that their journey as a motorist is just beginning. The most important thing is that this realization did not come through accidents, traffic accidents, collisions, and other tragedies on the roads. In this situation, it is much better to learn from other people's mistakes and learn from their sad experience than to make your own bumps, thereby gaining the desired experience and confidence. No one argues. Getting a driver's license is indeed a momentous event in many people's lives. But it's not just an opportunity to legally get behind the wheel. It is a huge responsibility and a large number of potential dangers. Driving culture plays a big role, and it should be learned in the first place. It includes knowledge of traffic rules, compliance with current rules, tolerance for newcomers, and respect for other road users. And this includes not only motorists, but also pedestrians and cyclists. In conclusion, understanding the common mistakes that novice drivers make is crucial for improving road safety and building confidence behind the wheel. By being aware of issues such as distracted driving, improper lane changes, and underestimating stopping distances, new drivers can take proactive steps to enhance their skills. Remember, practice and patience are key to becoming a competent driver. Stay focused, stay alert, and always prioritize safety on the road. Thank you for watching, and drive safely.